All right, how you guys doing today? About to hop into the review, Proverbs chapter 18. This is the part 2 of it, so make sure you check out part 1. But first things first, just make sure you like that video, little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? So, we left off last time in verse 8, I believe, right? Don't do gossip or listen to lies or whatever. They go down to the innermost parts of the belly. And he that is also slothful in his work is a brother to him that is a great waster, right? So a lazy person in his work is brother to him, is like that of him, or is just closely associated, very well acquainted with somebody who is a great waster. And I believe this probably is talking about time waster or a destroyer, somebody who destroys things. So an evil person who you don't really want to be around. So if you're lazy in your work, chances are you're going to surround yourself with that people, right? Whatever you sow, you're going to reap. You're sowing that seed, you're going to be reaping people that also sow those same seeds that you are. And then your circle is just going to be a bunch of people that's lazy and time wasters, right? The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and is safe. And he mentioned in the sermon that it's the only time in Proverbs where it's used the name of the Lord as a whole phrase, right? The name of the Lord. And when you talk about the name of the Lord, the rest of the Bible, it's usually in reference, he said, to the Lord's character, meaning that stuff that defines the Lord, such as love, greatness, faithfulness, all this type of stuff, right? We see it's a strong tower. If you're righteous, you can run into it and be safe. And he'd like to bring up the fact that he's like, there's not many things in this world that are truly safe, but the name of the Lord, the presence of the Lord, the attributes of the Lord are a strong tower, and they are safe. And he mentioned that the Lord, right, the Lord is faithful. He can't deny us because he can't deny himself, right? And I don't know if you guys were in church like I was growing up and you got the hymns in your brain, but there's that one song, Great is Thy Faithfulness. I couldn't tell you any of the lyrics right now, right? But I promise you I can sing the song. But just the name alone, great is thy faithfulness. He's faithful. He can't deny us because he can't deny him. That's one of the most beautiful verses. I said this before. This is one of my most beautiful verses. He can't deny you because he can't deny himself. Think about it. That's just beautiful. Anyway, the rich man's wealth is his strong city, and a high wall in his own conceit. Rich man's wealth. This is probably an observation from Solomon, right? The rich man's wealth is his strong city. Everything he's got and that's protecting him is related to his money. You lose that, you lose a lot of what you have, and pretty much everything, right? You're vulnerable, defenseless, and a high wall in his own conceit. He's protected by the fact that his ego is up there, right? Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty. Before honor is humility, right? So before comes destruction, you're going to be a prideful man. You're going to be haughty. Before honor is humbleness. You're going to be humble. He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him. So you answer something before you truly hear, right? How many times have we been too quick to do something and we realize that's not really what was going on? It's folly and shame because you're like, the person who's asking the question is just going to say, that's not what I asked. Or I've had this I think it was in a job interview, if I'm remembering the story right. She was like, that's not what I said. I said this, and then I answered again, and this is like, once again, that's not what I said. But also, like, that I think was more of an understanding thing, but you know how it's like, that's shameful right there. Where somebody's like, that's not what I said. Can you listen? Can you listen? Turn your listening ears on and lock in, right? So it's saying that, right? Spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded the spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit, who can bear that? And this is saying, spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness, but who can bear a broken spirit? And we talked about this broken spirit, how it was like you're disappointed. Or not disappointed, I think that was the word Pastor Paul used, but in reference to you have your expectations too high and you get disappointed in something happening that didn't happen the way you wanted to, right? That's your broken spirit. And if your spirit is broken, one, who can bear, but two, will it sustain you, right? Important things to think about. But also, we don't have just our spirit. God sent the living spirit to live inside of us as well. So it's not just our spirit that's in there, it's God's spirit as well. The wise man's heart, the prudent man's heart, gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before these great men. So wise man gets knowledge. The ear of the wise is going to seek knowledge. Wise man, you get knowledge. If you're wise already, you're going to seek the knowledge. So you got to seek the knowledge to get the knowledge, get the knowledge, seek the knowledge. It's a nice little cycle we got going on. Man's gift makes room for him and brings him before before great men. I'm sorry. So I think it's pretty simply explained. A man's gift given in love or courtesy makes room for him and brings him before great men. Be nice to people. Give gifts. You know that if you've done any type of business before, you know that usually there's exchanges of gifts and stuff like that. So for example, I've worked at Dunkin' Donuts, I've worked at Tim Hortons. We've had people come in all the time where it's like, oh, I'm going to a business meeting, they'll get like 2 dozen donuts or something, right? Bringing things for all that. One guy I talked to, he said, you know, I do it every time, so now it's just kind of like an expectation. But at the same time, it's like, yo, this guy loves us enough to give us donuts every day, and then it just kind of helps build your rapport with those people. It helps them see you in a better light. Versus, you know, maybe it's not an expectation, but every once in a while you're like, you know, guys, I was just having such a great day. Here's some donuts. Love you guys. Then everybody's like, hey, and then not only do you lift up everybody's spirits, everybody then has a more positive view of you in their head. And that's not, I'm not saying do this to be egotistical and be like, I want everyone to think I'm good, so I get those donuts and then they'll all like me and I can use that to my own benefit. Like, no, not like that, but just kind of like, you never know what doors that's going to open, right? It's going to bring you before great men. People are going to be like, yo, I respect your character, so let's see what we can do, essentially. You know what I'm saying? He that is first in his own cause seems just, but his neighbor comes and searches him, right? And this, I believe, is talking about when somebody hears a story first. Yeah, so the first that speaks in court sounds right. And so the cross-examination begins. And this so much has to do with partiality, right? Because chances are, if our friend is wrong, we're only going to hear the side of our friend. So we're going to hear them. And not only is it our friend that's telling us, but we heard them first. So there's two reasons we're going to believe them, because we heard it first. And we're just going to assume that's the story. But it's our friend. Why would they lie to us? We have to trust them, right? But also this issue has to do with impartiality, which the Lord says not to have, right? We hear one case, we can't be quick to jump to the conclusion of, we believe them, and then we're going off and doing something to, you know, get back or whatever the case is, right? We got to seek out the other side. Well, if we can't talk to the person, we don't know the person who the other side is, we have to talk to the person who told us the thing, like, and how do you think they see the situation, right? And, you know, they can embellish the truth a little bit and they might not be willing to actually be honest with the conversation, but at the same point, it gets them to think a little, and the way their mannerisms are, you might be able to deduce what's the truth a little bit more, you know, because if I say, yo, this guy punched me in the face for no reason, you're like, well, what happened? He was like, well, I was at the grocery store and I grabbed the last box of Cheerios and he punched me in the face. And then you go like, well, how do you think he feels about the situation? You'd be like, well, he was there with this kid and this kid was screaming and he had his hands on the Cheerios and I grabbed the Cheerio box out of his hand and then he punched me in the face. It's like, well, you just omitted a lot of the part that he already had the box of Cheerios in his hand, but you know, you get what I'm saying? Anyway, but it's more of an impartiality thing, right? We can't just believe somebody, be quick to believe somebody because they spoke in person. We see this even nowadays. Shannon Sharp just got hit with like a $50 million lawsuit. If y'all don't know who Shannon Sharp is, he runs this podcast, whatever. He just signed another $1 million type deal with more podcast studios, whatever. And he just got a $50 million contract, or no, he got more than $50 million contract, I believe. Got sued for $50 million because this girl was claiming that he sexually assaulted her or whatever over the course of how many times. And then he had to pull up the chat logs like, yep, no, this was consensual, all this stuff. And he's pulling up the chats of her wanting to initiate and all that type of stuff. And it's just like cash grab. But everybody's so quick to believe that could have ruined this man's reputation. Even with the Rihanna Chris Brown situation, right? I just learned that it wasn't what we thought. We all thought that Chris Brown just beat the living brakes off of Rihanna, but that's not the case. She started the fight with him, had his manhood by the nails, grabbing, like literally dehumanizing type action to inflict pain, the worst pain you could cause on a man. And she said, I started the fight and I lost, and that's exactly what happened, right? She did that to him and he reacted, I think, how any rational person would act. Now, could it been to a lesser extent? Sure. But at the same time, was the narrative that was painted for the whole like last 10 years correct? No. But everybody was just so quick to believe because she spoke first. Even the thing with the Drewski at the Diddy parties, like Drewski, they were like, yep, he was at the Diddy parties, he slid on a woman like a slip and slide, and he was like, bro, I was broken, I didn't know nobody. He posted like his bank account balance was at a 92. He was in Georgia or wherever he was at when the Diddy parties were happening in New York or wherever, and it was just like everybody was so quick to believe these people because they speak first. But that's not how it works, right? The lot that causes contentions to cease and parteth between the mighty. I don't even know what this means. He didn't go over this one in the sermon. To cast lots puts an end to quarrels and decides between powerful contenders. We don't do this anymore. We just kind of pray to the Holy Spirit and let it lead us, right? A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. So if you offend your brother, it's harder to get him back than a strong city, right? We shouldn't be offending our brothers, right? We should be living as Christ did and just, uplifting our brothers and all that type of stuff. And that's why the contentions are like that to the bars of a castle. Our brother is offended his heart to win over than a fortified city, and the contentions that separate families are like the bars of a castle. And even Jesus himself said, I didn't come to whatever, I came to divide families. So the father would hate his mother and blah blah blah. You can't follow me if you don't hate your father and mother, or won't be willing to, right? The context of that was just like, have to be willing to give up everything in order to chase this one thing. So that makes sense. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled, right? So what comes out of your mouth? Part of that comes out of your lips. Part of that, it's coming from your heart first and foremost, right? So when you're not satisfied, that's why it's harder to be happy when you're not happy with yourself. But you can't put that into words. A lot of people can't put that into words and be honest with themselves and say, I'm not happy with myself, that's why I'm not happy, right? A lot of people would be like, they'll say, I'm happy because I don't get women. And then, if you're looking at this red pill type mentality, you're like, you're fat and you're broke. Fix it. It's your fault you're fat and you're broke. Control what you eat. Put more time into your business or whatever whatever you got, So it's like, you can do something. You can do something is what this is saying. And we learn in James, not everybody can tame their tongue, right? It's one of the hardest things to do. But at the same point, the Lord, we can do all things through him who strengthens us. So, you know what I'm saying? And death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof, right? You shall eat the fruit thereof. If you love death, you got that fruit, God said. If you like life, God said you got that fruit too. I'll let you make your choice. If you want to live with me, live with me. If you don't, you don't. Let it be, right? But you can't blame it on anybody else. You're going to be satisfied with this stuff. You're going to be happy with whatever you got. Whoso findeth the wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. And he mentioned, like, it's just kind of whoever, this is one of the only times in Proverbs they talk about finding a good person or a good wife, so to speak, because it talks about angry ones later. But it's also just whoever finds a good marriage, right? Why? Because our marriage mimics the relationship that, one, we have with Jesus, and two, that Jesus has with God. So if we can do that, we can understand these things better, right? That's why it's a gift from God, the gift of marriage, because it helps us not only understand the relationship that we're in, but understand their relationship too, which is what we're mirroring. So there's that. And then we have to raise a kid with that, and then we have to push the kid through the thing as well. Like, all right, kid has a relationship with us. Kid then has a relationship with Jesus. Jesus has a relationship with God, and it's just like a whole cycle, right? So if you, the more you understand that, the more you can raise a kid in that, and makes it better for the whole cycle of the world, right? The poor uses entreaties, the rich answers roughly. I believe this is like questions and answers. The poor uses entreaties, the poor man pleads, the rich man's answer roughly. Why? Because you have less to offer. You don't got as much. And I don't really know what this is trying to say. We'll look at a commentary real quick. Yeah, when a poor person is of money or influence, all you can do is beg for favor and justice. And this makes more sense back then, because if you were in debt, you get thrown in jail. So all you could do is plead, because you don't have no money. Right? All you could do is plead. But the rich man can speak roughly or rudely, and we see that nowadays, because everybody thinks they're so entitled when they have money. And this is great that it's coming after the stuff like that. The life are in the power of the tongue. Why? Because so much of now is we're asking for mercy. We're asking for forgiveness for Jesus, right? We're asking for God's help constantly. And Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, or whichever one is right. But blessed is the poor in spirit. Why? Because we're humbling ourselves. And we talked about humility, right? It brings honor earlier. So a man that has friends must show himself friendly. And there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And he entreated us in the sermon, are you sticking closer than a brother to whoever you are, right? When something goes wrong in somebody else's life, are you there to count on? Like, are you one of those people that's going to be there for them? And there's chances where it's like, oh, they need something on Thursday the 18th at 6 p.m. I'm busy at Thursday 18th at 6 p.m. I have the biggest meeting of my life and I can't be there, bro. But that's not the point. The point is, are you going to send them, I don't know, an edible arrangement to show your sympathy for whatever they're going through? Are you going to show up at the house maybe another day and say, yo, what can I help with on this day? Or, yo, are you going to say, no, I can't make it, and then make plans after that, right? Because it takes two different type of people to show interest in this way, right? You either, somebody reaches out, make plans. You either say, yo, not busy that day, and it's dead, right? You're basically saying, I don't want to hang. Or they reach out, make plans, yo, I can't make it, but what about this day? You offer a new time to show, yo, I still value you as a person. I value your time and energy, whatever the case is. And so you're like, yo, I'll make that time for you. And so I think that's where we're getting it at, that it's like you stick closer than a brother. It's like, yo, I can't be there for you, but this time but this time I got you. Or what about this? Or let's work on a way I can help you because I can't help you in this way. Right? And that's how you stick closer than a brother right there. But you have to show yourself friendly first. Is levels to it. You and I know, like Kendrick Lamar said. A man of too many friends will be broken into pieces and come to ruin. But there's somebody that sticks closer than a brother, right? If you got those friends, it can break you in pieces, right? Because you spread out your assets too much. It's too little. It's easier to take you down, right? You rather have what's the thing? You rather have your eggs in one strong basket or in a bunch of weak baskets. Like I put one egg in every different basket because none of them can hold two baskets or two eggs in one basket, or I put 10 eggs in one basket because this basket can hold as many eggs as I put on it, right? And that's the same way with Jesus, right? He carries whatever we need him to, all of our burdens, as long as we carry his light burden. He helps us do all of that, sticking closer than a brother, all right? And this even says there's friends who destroy each other. There's friends who destroy you. There's people that don't want the best for you, right? We talked about this earlier. Watch out for the gossipers and all that stuff. It goes down to your innermost parts, and with those innermost parts is what's in your heart. And we know the power of the tongue comes from the heart, and that's where death and life is. So this all comes full circle. The whole chapter. This is beautiful. This is a good chapter. Hope y'all liked it. All right, that's gonna be the end of the video. Hope you guys have some fantastic rest of your day. Peace.